What is up, everyone? It is me, Psycho Blue, and I have a special presentation for you this lovely afternoon, or evening, or morning, depending when I upload this video. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to teach you guys how to learn long, complex combos using a method that we use in my real-life job called task analysis. What task analysis is, it's the process of breaking down complex tasks into smaller steps and then joining those steps together, increasing the sequence over time until you have the end result of what you want. This is something we use a lot for our younger kiddos who have more significant learning difficulties for simple things that we kind of gather when we're much younger, such as learning how to potty, learning how to brush your teeth, learning how to get dressed, things of that nature. What we do is we break down that what we usually perceive as adults as a singular task into the smaller steps that actually is. And little by little, we train our kiddos to be able to do those steps a little bit more over time, and then we would hand over hand the rest until one day they can do the whole sequence without our help. What I'm going to do is I'm going to apply that to fighting games, more particularly these longer combos. As you guys know, my bread and butter is Street Fighter Cross Tekken. The longer combos tend not to be optimal due to how damage scaling works in that game. But for games like Marvel Infinite and Power Rangers, it's a different territory for me. So I've had to change my way of thinking and apply what I know as professional into what amounts to my hobby, and now I kind of take aspects of ABA in my everyday life. A lot of people really don't understand how useful task analysis is for neurotypicals. It's not just for autism people, it's for everyone. It's the science of how we learn. And I'm going to break it down with Shadow Ranger, aka the Deca Master. There was a combo I was doing last night that I'm going to try doing first in the full sequence, and then I will show you how I learned this long combo. Let me get started, and I will try to get this one sequence down. And I can edit this later so that it doesn't take too much time. Hold on just a moment. Alright, I got it on the first try. That's actually even better. So this is what I did. What I usually do when I learn combos is I break them down into smaller sequences, not so much input by input, but more like different phases of stun. A good example, let's get started with this. We'll go with the back S opening, the Shadow Strike. Hold on just a moment. So the main thing I'm worried about here, this would have been step one for me. Being able to get the two Shadow Strikes in the upper and then stance cancel into his back H, that's his launcher, and then do two more Shadow Strikes. That would have been step one. Okay, that was step one. And the end of that stun, or the big kicker, was being able to get that upper and then cancel and get another launcher into the Shadow Strikes. That would have been step one for me. What you want to do, you shouldn't try tackling these long combos all at once. You will just get frustrated, and then you might develop an aversive reaction to this game in a way you don't want, because you're trying to learn a combo, and these things take some time. You have to understand that this takes practice. So when you complete the first of your chunk, be sure to reinforce yourself somehow, even subtly. Either have like a Skittle, we usually use Skittles a lot, or some kind of small extinguishable reinforcer for our little guys. But for you, a pat in the back or a pop off, yes, like that, or a drink of your pleasing drink, whether it be your beer, your sports drink, your soda, or just a nice clear bottle of water, something to reinforce you for completing that, because you want to use that kind of reinforcer to increase the likelihood that you'll continue on with this possibly arduous task if you are new to these sort of combos. So the next step of the sequence is going to be the so I do the second rep of the double strikes, and then I'm going to be canceling into my stance to get the Iaido attack, the slash, and then we canceling again to get the big Captain Sword. I forget what's the name of his girlfriend again? It's been so long I've watched SPD. I just know in Deck Raiders called the Vega Impulse. Insignia, that's her name. Yeah, that was the wife that Grum kidnapped. But I just called it the Vega Impulse because that was his actual move name in Deca Ranger. So this is going to be step 2. Let's do the first 2 steps, which would be the sequence into the launcher and then the second one. And I'm going to tell you how to reinforce yourself after this if you achieve mastery of the first step. Okay. Provide yourself the reinforcing drink / small edible / pat in the back / pop off after you completed those first 2 steps in succession. That way, your increased likelihood of doing this full sequence in a more accurate order as you get farther through this combo. Because this is where it's going to get hard, where I actually had to ask for help in the Discord last night. Step 3 is going to be canceling the Insignia combo, Vega Impulse, into another Shadow Strike sequence. This requires some pretty precise timing, and I got pretty frustrated. So what I had to do is I had to go back to make sure the rest of my stuff was perfectly solid, and I would reinforce myself over time until I didn't need to. I could just do it by instinct. That way, when I got to that part, I could focus just on hitting that part and not lose out on the other parts of the sequence I already learned. That's very common. It's pretty easy, actually, to kind of fall off in the rest of your sequence, even the early ones you thought you mastered, when you get frustrated. So be sure to mind your temper and mind your reinforcement schedule. Let's see if we can do it. I kind of sped that up a bit, but that would have been steps 3 and 4. Step 3, as I mentioned, was doing this into that. You want to be able to cancel as fast as you can. So let's try it again. Step 3. I went ahead of myself. Tell how much I did it. Okay, that's step 3. You definitely want to reinforce yourself here, but only. So let me clarify. When you conduct a task analysis, you're not going to reinforce every single step you do. You are reinforcing the end of the sequence. You're only growing the sequence over time as you add more steps. So let's say for the first bit, which would have been the first Shadow Strike into the upper, into the other 2, the second set of Shadow Strikes. That would have been a toke. That would have been a reinforcer, the drink / pop-off. Once you've mastered that, typically if I can do it 3 times in a row, I consider it mastered. Once you've mastered that, your next sequence that's going to have your reinforcement is going to be the end of the first Vega Impulse. You will not be reinforcing yourself for the first one anymore unless you fall off on that too much. You're only provide reinforcement after completing those first two chunks. And now that I've done the third chunk, and if I can do it 3 times in a row, I won't be reinforcing that. But for now, I'll be removing myself for completing the first 3 chunks. Alright, I did 3 times in a row after that. I have taken a swig of my Sheets Slurpee. This thing is mastered. My next reinforcement is going to be the full completion of the sequence, which is going to be the super and then the 4 hits into the stagger into the EX move. Uh-oh. No reinforcement for me. I need to slow it down. Let's go back a bit. Uh-oh. No reinforcement there. I gotta finish it now. That's what I said. Alright. I have taken a swig. I can now only receive reinforcement if I complete the whole thing. Now, once you achieve mastery, and you can do it, again, the magic number making this 3, and the whole thing is mastered, you no longer need the more specific reinforcement. Just the completion of the task will provide that intrinsic motivation you need to complete it with no more pick-me-ups. So the key is we have broken this long combo into 4 different chunks, and we have turned it over time by adding 1 more chunk with each mastery of the earlier chunks into a complete combo. Okay. That is the task analysis for this particular combo. Now, I might put this at the beginning or the end, so if you see it at the beginning, don't worry about it, but I'll likely just leave it after this. Here is the specific stuff I did for this combo. What I did, again, as a review, I broke it into four different chunks. First chunk, back S, cancel into this. I'm going to write that down for you because that's actually pretty hard. I'm going to pull up a text file right here. If I can just get it. I'm going to call this Deca Chunk 1. This would have been the first step of your chunk. I'm getting it. Alright, so I'm going to resize this for you guys. It is kind of big. It's not what I want. How do I change the size of this? Let's go OK. Trying to make it smaller. Bear with me, guys. Oh, that's perfect. Alright, that's actually pretty good. I can work with this. Okay, to break it up even easier. If you're just looking at it for the first time, I usually have it in a notepad next to me. There we go. So now you know with this first one, the stance change that happens. This is chunk number 1. Let's go over it. That's why I break it up into these kind of chunks, because that's a easy benchmark. It's like a bookmark in a book. You know this is where you left off, but you have an idea of the plot at this point. So let's try this. This is, again, chunk number 1. Okay, there we go. Chunk number 1. Let's add chunk number 2. Which is going to be... All right. So if I can do this, I call it chunk number 2, but if you are going to be learning this combo in full, it's best, once you get it to 3 times in a row, to treat it all as chunk number 1. Because you only have the reinforcement and consider this part of the combo complete if you can get all the way up to here. So let me do that right now. Okay, this is the combo we're doing up to this point. We're going to consider this step number 1 because we've already mastered these 2 chunks. So this is going to be 1 chunk now. Okay. That is chunk number 1 now, ending all the way to the 3rd set of Shadow Strikes. If you see these things on Twitter, by the way, be sure to write them down like this in a notepad. That way, you don't have to look at the video every single time, because not everyone learns the same way. For me, I have to learn by watching it and by writing it down, just like if I were in class. So now that we've done that, let's move to the next chunk, which is going to be basically this again for real. going to be... Okay, chunk number 3. Let's get to this point. All right. Again, that was all one sequence now. And now we're going to apply the final chunk, which is the last bit we were looking at earlier. Let me add that right now. And we're going to call this the complete sequence. And before you've known it, you've learned this full combo by just breaking it down into smaller bits. That's all there is to it. And you do it like this, you will have it committed to memory. It's way harder to break this habit because you're going to be kind of a reinforcement each time you do this combo and think about when you're, let me try wording another way. Think about when you are brushing your teeth today as an adult, or if you're young watching this as a teenager. And if you're really young watching this and you understand what I'm talking about, as you brush your teeth, whether you're a kid, brushing your teeth is something you learn when you're really young. So in reality, you've been doing it for a long time, haven't you? And you do it minimum every night. You don't even think about the way you brush your teeth over time. Like, you know kind of how to do it, brushing in circles, brushing each tooth, all that stuff, but you don't put effort into doing it because you've done it so many times, it's second nature. That is why you have to learn these things this way, because once you master each part of the sequence, it becomes way easier to learn the next part and integrate into what you've already done. If you try doing the whole thing in one go the first time, it's going to be intimidating and frustrating. But do it like this, it's way less frustrating, and it's way more like you're going to have it like down pat every single time you do it. That is the power of task analysis. There we go. Okay, let's get the whole thing done.
It's not nice to pick on people.
Ah, I messed up. I missed it. Missed it. Alright. I need to slow it down. That's something else you have to worry about. When you get too fluent with it, you might force yourself to speed up. So rhythm is also something you have to reinforce as well. Don't just do the inputs. Focus on the rhythm each time. You can even do a task analysis for the proper rhythm as well. Alright, there you go, guys. That was the task analysis for this combo. As you saw, I broke it up into 4 different chunks, and over time, I mastered each chunk and put those chunks together to make a single sequence. The sequence gradually grew until it included all chunks. We started with the first chunk. Then we add the second chunk and didn't really pat ourselves on the back until that chunk was mastered. When you do it this way, you can easily not get so caught up on the part you're stuck on, and basically by the time you get to that part, try to figure out what you're missing, the rest isn't going to hold you back anymore. So that was my task analysis for the Deca Master combo. I will try to do some more of these things a little bit later and maybe have another part to this for other things you can apply it to. In the meantime, this is Psycho Blue. I will see you guys next time, and please leave a comment on YouTube when you see this. Look forward to hear your guys' feedback. Bye.